can't allow on this show to have things said that we know for a fact are not true. If you don't have anything to say, you blab. You just go on and 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 on.
Karoline Leavitt just did what no one thought possible. She took down Whoopi Goldberg on The View. For years, Whoopi has ruled the show, dominating debates and silencing opposing voices. But when Leavitt stepped in with a fierce challenge to her views, the unthinkable happened. Did Whoopi finally meet her match? Here's how it all went down. Whoopi Goldberg had been a staple on The View for decades, sitting pretty on that throne as if it were her kingdom. No one could get past her, and if you didn't agree with her, well, you were just out of luck. Day in and day out, Whoopi steered the ship, setting the tone for the conversation, while the rest of the panel nodded along in what seemed like perfect harmony with her left-wing ideologies. But as we all know, empires don't last forever. And while Whoopi may have felt untouchable, The View was about to get a taste of its own medicine, courtesy of the young, fiery, and fearless Karoline Leavitt.
Voters do not agree with these despicable women on The View. They are wildly out of touch with the vast majority of Americans, and frankly, they should seek immediate help because voters are going to re-elect President Trump back to the White House very soon because voters see these trials that are being brought forward against President Trump for what they are. They are sham show trials. They are election interference in an attempt to imprison President Trump.
The showdown began when Whoopi Goldberg, as usual, was ready to dominate the conversation, especially on the topic of wokeness, a subject close to The View's heart. During the heated discussion, Whoopi took a jab at Karoline Leavitt, remarking, "Without wokeness, you wouldn't even have this job." The room grew tense, with all eyes shifting to Karoline, waiting for her response. What happened next was unexpected. Instead of retreating or stumbling, Karoline stood her ground. She didn't respond with anger or frustration. Instead, she offered a slow, deliberate smile, one that spoke volumes. It wasn't a reaction of fear or submission, but a quiet, confident acknowledgement that Whoopi had just underestimated her. Instead of spiraling into a defensive rant, or launching into a series of sarcastic quips, Karoline Leavitt did something far more powerful. She hit back with cold, hard facts. No theatrics, no over-the-top gestures, just numbers, statistics, and facts that were impossible to ignore. She pointed to government spending reports.
I would like to talk about Joe Biden and Donald Trump, who you work for.
I am stating facts that your colleagues have stated in the past.
Okay,
now, as
I'm
for
sorry,
this
guys.
debate,
We're going to come back out to the panel. Karoline, thank you very much for your time.
That was so good. So good. In a statement afterwards, this young lady claimed her, quote, on-air snub proves that you-know-who will not be treated fairly in the upcoming debate.
We are talking about taxpayer dollars being used for projects like gender studies in Guatemala and American children's shows pushing political agendas overseas, Karoline stated, her voice firm. This isn't about progress, it's about control. She backed up her claims with government spending reports, exposing how wokeness had moved from a social movement to a political tool for manipulation. The atmosphere in the room shifted drastically. Whoopi, once confident and dominant, now appeared visibly uncomfortable, no longer the one in charge of the conversation. The power dynamic had changed, and the viewers were watching in stunned silence. You could almost hear the collective gasps from the audience as Whoopi, who's usually quick with a sharp remark, sat frozen. Her mouth opened, then shut. She seemed to be searching for the words, but nothing came. Her usual dismissive hand wave couldn't save her now. Karoline had caught her in a trap she couldn't escape.
Now, do you think this is going to make people doubt whether CNN can stay objective, or is this more the same of, everybody's against me, it's all rigged, I tell you? Is everything rigged?
No, it's their MO. That's what they do. Rachel Maddow said last week, she's like, if the election is lost, it was rigged.
And here's the kicker. The audience noticed. Usually they're quick to back up Whoopi's every move. But this time, they weren't sure if they were supposed to clap, laugh, or just let the awkward silence linger. For the first time in a long time, Whoopi's usual confident demeanor had cracked, and the world was watching. It was one of those moments that made you wonder if the producers were regretting every decision that led up to this moment. The tension in the studio was palpable, and you could see the cracks in Whoopi's armor. She had no comeback, no snarky remarks, nothing. Let's talk about how the View's audience reacted. Fans of the show, who had been used to Whoopi's unchallenged reign, were absolutely divided. On one side, you had the hardcore Whoopi defenders, many of whom flooded social media to express outrage that a young conservative like Karoline Leavitt would dare challenge Whoopi's authority on live TV. "Who does she think she is? She's just a kid," some fans tweeted. "She's only famous because of Trump. Whoopi is a seasoned veteran, and this girl's got nothing on her."
Most divisive and disgusting speech that any president, certainly in my lifetime, has ever given. He essentially waged war on half of the country by saying that we are all a threat to democracy because we believe in putting America first. It's not radical to want to put your country and your own people first. It's not radical to want to have a strong border, a strong military, and to unleash the might of your own economy, not economies around the world. You know, we have seen cultural Marxism trickling its way through every institution in this country. The public school system, the higher education university system, Hollywood, big tech, the corrupt mainstream media that I fought against in President Trump's White House are indoctrinating my generation of Americans into hating our country, hating one another based on race and gender and sex and all of this other BS, quite frankly.
But on the flip side, you had the growing base of conservative viewers who saw Karoline as a breath of fresh air. "Whoopi has been silencing conservative voices for years," one tweet read. "Finally, someone is fighting back." Another comment on Reddit said, "Whoopi's got no answers to Leavitt's facts. She's done." Some Twitter users were even more vocal, posting memes of Whoopi's stunned reaction and calling out the hypocrisy of the entire View panel. The real kicker came when Leavitt didn't back down or get emotional. Her calm, confident demeanor made Whoopi's attempt to tear her down look petty and unprepared. Viewers online started sharing clips with captions like, "When Whoopi Goldberg meets her match." Whoopi Goldberg hasn't exactly been the picture of restraint when it comes to her opinions. Over the years, she's made countless controversial statements, some of which have sparked outrage across the country. From tone-deaf remarks about the Holocaust to her bizarre defense of questionable figures, Whoopi has never been one to shy away from the spotlight, even if it means courting controversy. But here's the thing. Those past controversies didn't just go away. The damage was piling up, and Whoopi's behavior was starting to take a toll on ABC. The network had already been dealing with the aftermath of multiple defamation lawsuits tied to The View, including one from country star Carrie Underwood, after Whoopi and the other hosts mocked her performance during Trump's inauguration. Underwood didn't take it lying down. She filed a defamation lawsuit, and when it went to court, some explosive details came to light. Leaked emails revealed that ABC had deliberately planned to target Underwood in order to boost ratings. The scandal was huge, and it cost ABC a massive settlement. The whole situation left the network reeling, and that wasn't the only controversy Whoopi had caused. Elon Musk, too, found himself at the receiving end of Whoopi's wrath, as she made a series of false claims about his control of Twitter. As expected, Musk sued, and the network was once again in full damage control mode. But as the lawsuits stacked up and the advertisers started pulling back, The View was beginning to realize something. Whoopi Goldberg, once their biggest asset, had now become a liability. Behind the scenes, things were getting ugly. ABC had already watched as The View became a lawsuit magnet. With each new defamation case, the network was forced to spend more and more resources trying to clean up the mess. Advertisers were growing weary of being associated with a show that seemed to thrive on controversy. And then, just as the cracks in the show were becoming impossible to ignore, Karoline Leavitt stepped in and delivered a blow so powerful, it left Whoopi and the producers scrambling. It wasn't just about one more lawsuit, it was about the entire direction of the show. Could The View survive with this constant onslaught of bad press? Could Whoopi continue to steer the ship when the rest of the world was starting to turn against her? The answer? Maybe not. Because, as we now know, Whoopi Goldberg was eventually removed from the show. ABC's PR spin was quick to claim that Whoopi was simply taking a break to focus on other projects. But let's be real. We all know the truth. Whoopi got the boot. The woman who had dominated The View for so long had been outmaneuvered by someone younger, smarter, and ready to take on the woke narrative with a fire that Whoopi simply couldn't match. And now, the question on everyone's mind. What's next for The View? Will ABC continue down the same path of one-sided discussions, or will they finally bring in some balance? Is Whoopi's departure the final nail in the coffin for a show that's been on life support for years? One thing's for sure, Karoline Leavitt has changed the game, and the world is watching. Let us know your thoughts. Do you think this is the end of Whoopi Goldberg on The View? Can the show survive this kind of controversy, or has it finally reached the point of no return? Comment below. We want to hear your thoughts on the biggest shakeup in The View's history. And if you haven't already, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for the latest gossip. Because you know we've got all the insider info.